why is it that everybody thinks commercials are so much louder when statistically significantly they're not? Well, there's two answers that I can think of. Number one, statistical significance is not the same as what? Empirical or practical significance. Yeah, just because you can say something's louder. I mean, maybe I say it's louder and Anna says it's not, but that doesn't mean that I don't think it's louder, right? And that means I go to the FCC site and I check the yes button on that survey. And the people that are going to be pissed are the ones that are voting yes. People that aren't pissed aren't going to be going to the website anyway. So that's one explanation, right? The other explanation I thought was interesting. I'm going to switch over here.
Perception, too.
Yes, perception, and see, I'm a drummer, which almost qualifies me as a musician. But there is a tool you can use in the studio. And one of my merit badges I wear with pride on my punk rock Boy Scout sash is that engineers never have to use something called compression on me. So what compression is, some of you guys are audio folks, you know what compression is. Compression, gating, there's all kinds of tricks you can do. The most famous of which right now is auto-tuning. You know, if you take a pop star out of the studio and make them sing to you, it's a hellaciously funny experience. Because they sound like crap. They only sound good because we can polish their voice to a point where it's presentable. Now there are some that are exceptions, obviously, but the vast majority of pop music is filtered down so much through so much polishing that at the end, have you ever seen the Dove campaign for Real Beauty? Which is one of the saddest things I've ever seen in my life, where they take this beautiful woman, take a picture of her face, and then do all this photoshopping to her to make her quote-unquote prettier. I think she looks worse when they're done with it. She's gorgeous when they start. Compression is one of the tools to do the exact same thing to music. Take music that's not perfect and make it perfecter. So compression, what it does is it smooths out decibel levels of a performance. So if a guitar player is playing a solo and certain notes are played more quietly than others, compression takes those low notes and brings them up to the volume of the other notes that were played correctly. Fair so far? So what I think is happening, and this British study said the exact same thing, they take the commercial volumes and the show volumes and they compress the commercial in such a way that the maximum doesn't necessarily exceed the maximum of the show to a measurable amount. Maybe the average decibel of the commercial is louder than the average decibel of the show, but the peak isn't. You see what I'm getting at there? And that's another measurement that I would love to take. I want to redo the study with average decibel versus peak decibel and see if there is a difference. Because that, I think, we would see a difference, I would think.
Well, modern music creates a lot more speakers, which causes a higher failure rate.
Creates a lot more what?
Failure rate.
But what was that? You said modern music creates?
More heat in speakers.
Is that because it's so much busier?
Yeah, because there's so much.
So much signal.
In fact, at the same time, there's so much going on, the speaker can't differentiate.
That's
and
interesting.
It just creates heat and then just.
It just farts. Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Well,
That's why I listen to 1970s era Iron Maiden. I can avoid all that.
Right.
Got the brain playing the drums. It's just like Clive Burr. That's so interesting. I did not know that. It's actually overloading the. You're overdriving a speaker.
Right. Well,
essentially, right?
Yeah, because it can't move because it's trying to play everything.
Every little vibration, but it can't keep up with them. Oh my God, that's wild. I did not know that. Thank you.
What?
Stop listening to pop music, people. Let's kill the industry right here. I'm sorry. Got my soapbox. Punk rocker speaking here. That's good.
You just can't clip it. If you add
Right.
anything on top of that, then that's when it, you know.
You start. It's creating too many waves in the speaker.
Right.
Now, which
you're
case?
just taking the peaks of that and you're just cutting it off. And then
Gotcha. Square wave versus sine wave. Yeah, exactly. Which would sound like a distortion pedal, essentially. Yeah.
That's why as long as your trunk is rattling, that's all that matters.
Everything's fine, right? I noticed off as I'm riding. We got bad hinges. What I found interesting is when you're down here, adopted the line cannot be louder than television shows anymore. The rules adopted today require that commercials have the same average volumes. So they actually use the word average in there. The commercials have to have the same average volume as the programs they accompany. And this is why I really, really, really want to get my own data now and test this. So I want to have to hollow out like 3 or 4 hours on a summer day or something and get a fairly unbiased sample of shows on digital free network television, not network, but digital free television, and measure average volume versus peak volume. Because they keep saying louder, 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 and then here they measure the word average. So in other words, the peak volume levels from my study are a little bit wanting in that respect because of that. Is that fair?
Wouldn't that be the same as a root mean square though? Or RMA?
Is that the best way to deal with dB?
Right, because you have the difference between each side and it just takes your average.
Is that the average you would use? Would you use root mean square versus arithmetic?
That's how we.
I'll have to do a conversion to make it work for a t-test. Because that's the trick is, a root mean square is a quadratic, or a radical, it's a half power. And a t-test is expecting linearly shifted data. I'll have to do a conversion somehow, which would be fun. That makes me, as a math geek, happy. So yes, I'm glad you told me that though, because I wouldn't have done that had you not told me that. So thank you. Visit me next fall. I should have time by then. We'll get new data. Nice. Cool? Makes sense? Maybe, ish. I want you to keep this one for reference. But I want to do one more. And if you want, we can hand it in for an in-class quiz. Sound good? Yeah, good.